Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stew again, and I just want to say thanks for 2,000 subscribers. Woo! We're back working with the City Streets kit, and we're going to explore making curves and lines with rails. And these techniques do not only apply to rails, you can use them in a variety of cases. Let's get to it. Off with a bunch of buildings constructed on our way to completing a 9x9 block section of urban center. I'm going to show you how to quickly quadruple that. In order to make a section we can copy, I'm going to cut some part of this large section off. One issue is that a lot of these pieces are inside of groups, so we'll need to scope in and then delete from inside the group. We want to trim the projections from two adjacent sides and eliminate the roadway entirely from the opposite sides. Looking at the footage, I kind of did this the dumb way, going into each group and erasing most of what was inside. Much quicker would have been to delete the entire group and then copy one of the smaller through sections in its place, but oh well. From here I can double tap the cross button on one of the objects and select them all. I have a sun and sky gadget in here as well to turn the scene fog down, so I'll deselect that so it isn't duplicated. The cool thing about everything being lined up on a foregrid is that I can set the grid to max size and move the whole thing. And boom, just like that, we doubled it. Double tap again, unselect the sun and sky again, and it's quadrupled. This scene, as it's built, has some design limitations, but once I redo part of this set, you'll be able to quadruple this part without issues. So now that we have a sufficiently large city area for a track, let's look at how we can easily set up a course using Krails. I'm using the Krail asset from the City Streets kit, and I have Keep Upright turned on in guides. I will quickly place this at about ground level to give us a starting point. I'm also going to line this up with the sidewalks so I have placement consistent with most of the surfaces we want to place these onto. To start, we're going to make a straight line of rails. There are a few different ways to do this, and I'll show you all three. First, we'll do it freehand. I have Keep Upright on for all of these to make sure I don't wander too much in the y-axis. When you make your copy, you want to grab it from a place very close to your ultimate joining point so that you can zoom way in to line it up better. On these, once you get there, the main thing you want to concentrate on is getting the tops even so the copies don't float in one direction or the other. Once you're in place, make a bunch of outside copies by tapping the right D-pad button. And as you can see, that makes a pretty good line of K-rail for a long straight or something like that, and the bottom stays pretty even. Next, we're going to use Precise Move. The nice thing about Precise Move is that it generally keeps you moving in only one axis, so you don't have to worry about drifting on the way to where you want to go. If you find that you're stuck on the grid a lot, I would encourage you to try Precise Move more often. It's going to get you precision results in most cases without the repetitive look of grid placement. Same thing, everything lined up great. Lastly, let's try a few things with the grid. This is standard grid, pretty easy to work with, but we lose the gap between K-rails. That's not necessarily a bad thing depending on the style you're going for. I made this set to work on a foregrid, but these K-rails are exactly 18 dots wide, so you can also set your grid to 16 and move over one spot, which is super easy of course. To get things nicely lined up with a gap, 1/8 grid works well, but with a resolution that fine you might struggle keeping it straight in the other dimension. I'd probably use Precise Move over this. But for course building, we're not only interested in straights, we want to build bends and curves as well, for instance a 90-degree turn from one corner of this intersection to another. When working with curves, it's best to work from directly overhead to minimize your movement in the y-axis, otherwise your copies end up in the ground or in the air more often than not. I'm using a standard grid with keep upright still on. I'll copy this, rotate the copy 90 degrees, and then drag it over to the far corner. Once I'm there, I'll tap left D-pad to create inside clones. In order to accomplish this, you need to hold R2 after you've made the copy. You only release it once all of your inside copies are in place. You'll notice that this will only line up with your first copy in a precise location. You'll likely have to mess with it for a few seconds before you find it. Now I'll do the same thing, but this time I'll make my copies outside clones. I place the first copy next to the original, then tap right D-pad to make my copies. I like this way a little better because it's hard to get your copies perfect, and that gives the scene a more natural feel. But 90-degree turns aren't the only kind we want, and luckily other angles are easily accomplished. Let's make an S-curve. I'll start this like the others, but I'll keep the ultimate angle shallow. I'll do this with outside curves, but it would work the same with inside ones. I have the start of my S-curve. With the result still selected, I'm going to copy that whole thing. Then I'll click L3 to mirror the selection. That will give us the other half of our curve. Then all we have to do is line it up with the other part to complete the smooth S-curve. I'll admit I have a lot of practice and am making this look easy. If the controls are giving you a hard time, keep at it. You can see right here how it pays dividends. I had troubles with the motion controls too, believe me. Now I'm going to select and copy all that and drag that copy to the other side of the roadway to complete our chicane. When we're building a course in streets like this, we'll probably want to keep things confined, so we can simply grab a K-rail and use the same methods to extend it to a building. Every angle wants to work out a certain way in order to remain smooth. You'll probably need to mess with it for a second to find that. And let's say you have a single piece that just isn't the way you want it. Grab that close to the joint with the one next to it and then rotate it to your liking. And this is what you end up with. In this video we talked about strategies for easily making straight and curved barriers. Hopefully you can see how this can be applied to making all sorts of curved objects. In videos coming up, I'm hoping to return to my RDO Jones scene to continue showing you how to bring a static scene to life. I'm also looking for a hidden gem creator to highlight, and we'll get back to talking about how graphics thermal works. But that's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you in the Dreamiverse.